Hey y'all. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this little light off. Isn't that pretty? I'm loving my little candle. What do y'all think? Do you like it? Okay. Well, I have to have lights on. Which means, guess what? You can't really see the candle, can you? No. You can't. So, how's everybody doing? Should I zoom in a little, y'all? There. Well, I'll just let y'all help me get my camera gear all set up. I hope everybody's doing okay. Bree is in rare mode today. She is very definitely in a mood. She wants to play. She's very boisterous. So y'all say hey to Bree. Because she sure probably going to say hey to you today. I'll just warn you now. Okay. I'm fixing all my silver jewelry. I do enjoy jewelry. For those of you who say, please don't be materialistic as a Christian, I promise you I'm not. I enjoy things, but they really are meaningless to me. Honestly, what is going on with my bangs? If people ask me for my jewelry, I've even given it to them. I mean, I know it's just stuff. But I do enjoy it. Like, it's kind of like, these are some of my favorites because they're glitzy and they're fashionable. And this, especially, this Chanel I got on, I think it was the Real. And I made payments for 3 months. I told them I want to make them really high payments. Because you get to choose, you don't talk to them. A firm's done through your phone. Or at least mine was. And, so you tell them, do you want this deal, this deal, this deal? And of course you get better interest the shorter you do it. But the reason I did it shorter wasn't for interest. It was so I wouldn't be in so much debt. I didn't want to be in a lot of debt. So there you have it. Okay. So I purposely haven't done my brows. And of course, you know, we are going through palettes that I've had in the past that I used a couple of times. They're really nice palettes. And then I just moved on to the next palette because, you know, I was buying palettes to review on YouTube. And, y'all, my hair is just kind of still funky. It's just kind of dry. Like, I can put it in a position watch, and it just stays there. I think it may be because I use too much hairspray in my hair, y'all. And it does have alcohol, and it does dry it out. I'm wearing 2 of my favorite sentimental jewelries today. This is my, I call it my badge, my medal of honor, my badge of courage. I've had 4 boating accidents. So when my husband, when he took me to Hawaii, he wanted to get out on a big yacht, catamaran yacht, and go sailing. And I was like, the open sea. No, I don't do that. But the look in his eyes was like it would make it for him. So I thought, okay, I'll do this, but only if they don't go to the deep sea, as long as they stay on the shoreline. So there was a point in the ride that he did head into the deep water, and I literally went up and talked to the captain and said, hey, I don't want to be the pill butt here, but I can't do really deep water. I just can't because the swells get so big, and it does freak me out because I did have a sailing regatta. Not accident, but it got pretty rough. And I've known people who have died in sailing trips because I didn't personally know them, sorry. I knew the person that was there that survived. And people just forget the sea is very deep and very unpredictable. And that's why when we get a new heaven and a new earth, and I'll never forget Anne Graham Lotz once said, she used to struggle with the fact that she would go to heaven and not have the ocean anymore because she loved it so much. And it doesn't say you won't have it at all. Matter of fact, it says there'll be a crystal sea. And I think the importance of that is the sea that we have now is dark. You can't see what's in it. You don't know what could get you as far as like sharks and other things. And you could drown. It can overcome you in the sense that it's bigger and stronger than you are, kind of thing. But in the new heaven and the new earth, it won't be like that. For one thing, it's crystal, so it implies that it's clear. You can see through it. And we won't be bound by our human bodies anymore. We'll have a new kind of body that will be different than the one we have now that's finite. We'll have an infinite body. And it will be a body. It won't just be a spirit. But apparently we won't be bound by any of the laws of nature. Jesus wasn't. He could walk on water. He could walk through walls. And he did in his new body and his, well, he walked on nature before he even got his new body. So, well, he walked on water to walk out to the disciples. And, but anyway, the bottom line is, I decided to do this for Lancey because I love him, and I did it. And when I came back to my life group, and I did enjoy it, except for when it started getting those big swells. And then I noticed that a woman had her like 7-year-old on the front. They call it the nest. It's the canvas lattice, and it popped him up in the air. And he had no life vest on. They said, "Well, there's life vest on the." I was like, if he went over the side, you could not find him. I mean, the swells were getting pretty big. And that could just pop him right over the side. And I looked at that mom, and about the time that I think it hit her too, and she turned around and got her child and came back to the area of the boat that's kind of back where the steering is, which is where I was. It's about midway to the back, and I'd say it's 3/4 of the way, because there is a little quarter of the boat on, even on the back part, that's, you know, people were just standing around where the fishing poles were if they wanted to fish and stuff like that. But and they realized it's getting a little dangerous here, you know, and that's when I did talk to the captain, and he didn't turn around, he turned and went back over by the volcano and came back through that way, which is closer to shore. And it just was so wonderful also to be that close to the volcano and just to see the whole Honolulu skyline. It was just beautiful. So I think it was more enjoyable for everyone. So there's some people looking like, I'm getting green here, and it's like, So I think they actually loved me for it. But the bottom line is, I think it was hard on Lance because I think he wanted to, you know, ride the bull in the sea. He's kind of fearless. But I'm apprehensive just because I've heard so many stories, and people say, well, you can't really let that. Well, you don't take unnecessary chances. I don't. Some people do. And my Lancey darling, like I said, he's just fearless, and he grew up on the ocean too, which can give you a false sense of, oh, I know the sea, or that sailor knows the sea. It's the sea. It's unpredictable and extremely powerful. It's the most powerful force on the earth. So, anyway, I mean, we're big water balls. So anyway, when I came back, this, it's a wave. It's a sterling silver disc, and it has a wave on it, and behind it's koa wood from Hawaii, and then there's these earrings that are kind of like just a swirl, like a swell, I guess, and it also has koa wood on it. And Lance got me these, and I remember I went to life group, I told them about that I was ashamed as a Christian that I didn't trust God because I know God could control the sea, and that I was just fearful. And one of the guys there who was in the military, and he's really seen a lot of tough stuff. Like, he was a fighter pilot, and so he's seen some pretty difficult things. And he said, you weren't, you really should be proud of yourself. And I was like, why? And he said, because you showed courage. Courage isn't the lack of fear. It's pushing through the fear anyway and doing it anyway. And you can be terrified and have courage because you push through it. And that's what medals of bravery are about. It's not that the person wasn't afraid, it's that they acted anyway. And he says the fact that you acted on that on behalf of your husband shows great, great love for him. That you were really scared to do it. And he really made me feel good about myself. I'm going to cry. He did. He made me, because I was so ashamed of myself. And I was like, Lord, I'm sorry. I didn't trust you to hold back the waves. But, you know, there's other people who are Christians, and you didn't hold the waves back for them. And I just felt like they were silly to try to be out on. Not silly, but they took a huge chance by going out, and it didn't pan out. They didn't make it. And I just don't want to tempt, not tempt fate or tempt God's hand, because if he wants me, frankly, if he wants me to make it, I'll make it. And if it's not my day to die, I won't die. But I just didn't want to deal with the fearful feeling. Anyway, he did make me feel better about it, that, you know, what I did for Lance, and I think Lance realized that it was a huge sacrifice for me. And so this is a very, very special piece of jewelry. And a lot of my jewelry does have sentimental value, so I do enjoy jewelry like this one, this butterfly one. I got when we went over to Russia to help some Russian pastors over there. We did some some ministry with them. You know, they were building a church. They were trying to build funds, and for people to come over from America to do worship for them does draw people there, and it draws souls there, which is the biggest concern, of course, is that people would say, let's go see the Americans, and maybe they would listen to the gospel. So my mother had passed away, and so when I saw this, I love butterflies because to me, like the cross, they represent new life, that you had this old life as a worm. And it's since been discovered that the DNA for a butterfly is in the worm. In other words, it's there, but it has to die for that. That DNA has to die for the DNA of the butterfly to come forth. That is such an incredible message of Christ, that the old you has to die, and you're a new person in Christ. Anyway, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but it has a little baby butterfly inside. So this is the mommy butterfly. And so when I saw this, I think it was in a, to be honest with you, I think it was in a Sky Mall. I love those things. And I just fell in love with it because it's silver and gold. This is like a rose gold here, and then it's sterling silver. And the most sentimental of all part of this, it's already sentimental, is that I wanted a chain for it when we were in Russia. They said, would you like to, on one of the days that we didn't have anything that we were going to, because we went to rehab centers and the kind of a poor area of St. Petersburg and different places that we did ministry. But one day they said, today's free, let's let you go to Russian market. Lance loves markets in other countries. He just feels like it's the real vibe of the country. So we went, and I said, there is one thing I'm looking for. And I figured that in Russia it's going to be a lot cheaper. And that was, I wanted a sterling silver chain for this charm. And so when we were leaving, I saw one, but I didn't get to go back and get it. And I was kind of bummed because it was in this church that we went through that was gorgeous. And you see that. You see a lot of the Russian Orthodox, you know, the onion, Byzantine architecture and all that. And so when we were leaving, the pastor, these are very poor people, the pastor gave me, I forgot what it's called. It's a very Russian